Okay, good evening, everybody. Everybody good with we haven't done this in a couple of months, so we might be rough and we're already starting late. We apologize for that, but welcome to the town board public hearing on. Good evening, everybody. Oh, hold on a minute. Everybody good with we haven't done this in a couple of months, so we might be rough and we're already starting late. We apologize for that, but welcome to the town board public hearing on. It's not. Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on. Everybody good with there we go. The Zoom isn't coming back on. Hold on. Look, Andrea, it's not coming back on. It's up here in the corner.
You are live and it's broadcasting. Okay. Go to that little bottom arrow. Right here.
This
Click
one?
that and then yeah.
Should I close this one out?
No, leave that. Go just to that.
Huh.
Oh, no, maybe that one pop it out. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we're here. Good evening, everybody. We had to mute the live streaming, otherwise it was going to play back the whole time. Sorry for that. Tonight, our public hearing is on the topic of opting out of cannabis retail sales. And I just want to make sure that everybody, before we get started in the public hearing, I want to, everybody knows the town board. I don't know if you can see everybody. Also, we have, I don't know how many people are on, but as said in the Unionville Mail, that if you want to add to the public hearing and you wave your hand, if you know how to do that in the bottom of Zoom, it's on the bottom bar, then you will get called on, okay? First things first, I wanted to make sure you guys remember that you have to everybody's got about 3 minutes just to keep things efficient. And I think that other than that, this should be a pretty straightforward public hearing. It's important that everybody understand that the town board in a local law process earlier in August at the last town board meeting, the town board decided to put forth a resolution of introducing the opting out of the cannabis retail sales. Now, we also thought that while we were all in agreement that we should opt out, it's important to understand what the residents think. So we wanted to issue a public survey to whoever would take the time to answer it. So it's not representative of the entire town, of course, but it does give us an indication of where people are thinking. And I think it seems like they're pretty much in line with what the town board had thought. I'm going to read those statistics in just a minute. But the next thing we're going to do after going through the survey results is just make sure that everybody can comment on whatever your thoughts are regarding cannabis retail sales and everything. It's important that you all know that this is a state law. The state of New York has now permitted recreational marijuana, and what they've permitted local governments to have control over is very minimal. The one thing that we do, this is one thing that we can have some control over, and that is opting out of smoking lounges and retail dispensaries. There are a lot of other aspects such as home delivery and things like this that we can't opt out of. The choices are limited. New York is really behind this law, but we're going to do what we can do, and we're going to do what the preference of the town residents is. So first of all, the cannabis survey results, and I sent it out twice, so I'm hoping that most of you on received it. Everybody, we went back and checked. There were 2 people that thought maybe they hadn't received it, but when we checked with the outside provider of the email, they said they definitely had. And one person had taken it, they just forgot because it was a month ago, which happens. Anyway, as far as absolutely not, the first answer was for the survey was, should we, the question was, should we allow smoking lounges and retail dispensaries. 56.55% said absolutely not. The second question was, do you say no just to smoking lounges? 10.86% said no to smoking lounges. 11% said no to smoking. One person said no to smoking, but yes to dispensaries. And 32.21%, 86 people said that both are fine if the time, place, and manner are tightly controlled by the town board, by our town code, which is, a process to change, as you all know. So 57% say absolutely not. And then there's another 32 that say, if you control it properly, then dispensaries could be permitted. And it doesn't look, though, as if smoking lounges were, only one person said yes to smoking lounges. So the least popular option. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'd like you to raise your hand and let us know if you have some comments you'd like to make, so we can call on you and listen to your thoughts. And I will say, I'm going to, just to start us off, I'll go ahead and read, or have Councilman Welsh read Ursula Wood's comments that she wrote in earlier. And I'm going to give that to you. If you wouldn't mind, we can start there, and then the rest of you can give some thought to what you may want to say.
All right, this is from Ursula Woods. I am writing to smoking lounges in our small town. I moved up from the city years ago to raise a family. I settled in Unionville for a small town feel. I've even dealt with the high taxes and lack of independent library for this small feel. When someone posted on Facebook about you're considering this crazy idea, I thought for sure it was a joke, someone coming for you politically. But no, it was confirmed. With all due respect, how can you even consider this when you have two schools in your immediate vicinity, Vale Farm and Unionville Middle School? I keep a fairly low profile due to my husband's job in the schools, but on this issue, it's not fair to our kids to keep silent. Inviting these places here is a mistake, and once here, it will destroy our small town. Yesterday, I took a walk down my street and enjoyed seeing the neighborhood kids waiting for the ice cream truck. That's Unionville. That's what we want. We pay high taxes, but we're safe and not compromising morals for a quick buck. I'd like to know when the public hearing on this will be. I will stand up for the kids in this area. Ursula Wood.
Great, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Wood. Is there anybody else that would like to raise their hand? Is everybody here a resident? I mean, assuming most people are residents of the town of Unionville. If you are, then you may know that I'm Town Supervisor Betsy Moss. That was Councilman John Welsh. In addition, Councilman Kevin Derlin and Kevin McGivney are here, and Councilman Steve Frazier, and our Highway Superintendent Ed Kading, and of course our town clerk. In case anybody wasn't sure, since we got a question.
You have one person there. Wow.
Oh, I don't even see it. For some reason, it's not coming up as a raised hand.
Yes.
There they are.
That's it. This is Mark DeBald. Can you
There
hear me?
you are.
Hey there. How are you? Good.
Hi, Mark.
Good. So resident, live on Waterbury Hill Road. Yeah, I encourage opting out of this also. I guess I don't see the need for it in Unionville. I suppose folks could get these products elsewhere. I'm not too sure we would have to make it easy for that to happen. And this is probably a small way to try to control that distribution. But yeah, I would encourage opting out also. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you coming on.
Sure. Yep.
And who else had their hand up? Did anybody see a second? It says one. Let me see.
That's you.
Yeah, I'm gonna lower your hand. The only other person is Kathy Welsh.
Does she want to speak now? Kathy Welsh, would you like to speak?
She's not on camera.
Let's see. Maybe she can't hear. Kathy Welsh? Anybody else like to speak? And we can come back to Kathy?
I'll text her.
She's unmuted, but we're not hearing her.
Since I was a little late, what are we accepting comments on at this time?
We are accepting comments at the public hearing for opting out of cannabis retail sales. Did you have something you wanted to offer? Or say to the board?
So I said, I don't think it's the kind of business that we really want in our town, so I agree with what you're doing.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Is Kathy gonna be able to get on?
Haven't heard from her, so.
Yeah,
That's a no.
she's unmuted, but it's not working.
Which does she like to call in? Have her, if she calls here, I'll put it next to, and if she call mine, I'll put it next to the microphone. Oh,
She didn't answer my text, so forget it.
no. So she. No?
There we go. Okay.
Hi, Kathy Welsh, you're going to be live if you'd like to make your comments for the cannabis hearing, the opting out.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. At this point in time, I hope the town board opts out of permitting the operation of smoking lounges and retail dispensaries selling cannabis in the town of Unionville. Short and sweet, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Does anybody else have any comments about cannabis and opting out? Does anybody else see a hand raised that I don't see?
I'm not seeing any.
Not? Okay. All right. Well, then I would just say before we close the public hearing, in talking to some of the residents, there's a few things that they had asked me about. And I just want to make sure it's clear that really right now, nobody knows what's going to happen with regard to farming. This is with regard to marijuana. So I think to the extent, I just think it's important for people to know that a lot of this, the Cannabis Control Board is running a few months behind, but they're kicking in. I don't think the marijuana sales and the guidelines are going to be around, are going to be available for us until 2022. So we'll get that information to you as soon as we can. And at this point, with nobody else having any comments to make, I would like to say, last call, anybody? If nobody has any comments to make about opting out of cannabis retail sales, we will close the hearing, take a quick break, just for technical reasons, take a quick break, and then we're going to go ahead and proceed and open up the regular town board meeting. Okay? Public hearing is now closed. Thank you. Does anybody?
You're still on.
Yeah. No. Okay, we are ready to start the regular town board meeting. It is 7:29,
Yeah,
almost our exact normal time.
yes.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, and if you could join me in saluting the flag, please. Appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, we're kind of sitting and it's appropriate. If you can all hear me okay. We've had a difficult 6 weeks, and I'd like to ask that we have a moment of silence for 3 people. Our beloved Butch Anderson, our beloved sheriff, that has died since our last regular agenda meeting. The Pine Plains fireman, who was in his own house and it exploded and killed him and rocked the entire small town of Pine Plains. And then lastly, but not leastly, of course, we'd like to have a moment of silence for our own farmer, Mr. Ray Vale. So if you could join me in just thinking of these 3 gentlemen for a moment, we'd appreciate it. I'll use mine.
Okay. Ray Vale is such a significant person in our town, resident. He spent his whole life here, 94 years. He was a farmer. He was a mentor to young people, especially 4-H people. For over 75 years, he was a 4-H leader and, of course, a teacher as part of that. And he got a lot of young people interested in farming. And, of course, food was the result of all his efforts. So he fed a lot of people over the years. He was a very dedicated man to his family, his community, to his farm, and to his 4-H people. He received a Lifetime Achievement Award last year from the Dutchess County Agricultural Society. And as I always do every year, this year is not different. I saw Ray at the Dutchess County Fair back in August. They told me that was his 81st year that he was there. Since he was a kid, he's been showing livestock at the fair. And encouraging 4-H for others. He had a very long life. He has a very nice family, a large family. His family has owned that farm back to 1794. That's how far
Wow.
back the family's been farming that land. A lot of it was sold for the Unionville Middle School and the Vale Farm Elementary School in 2003. But part of it is still Vale Farm, and there's still some livestock and farm animals there. As a young man, he was named New York's most outstanding farmer in 1957, and he's really been that way ever since. So I think it was a big loss for us. Ray was a friend of many people, and I'm very sorry to see him go.
Thank you, John. Very sad. We lost 3 wonderful people this month. I mentioned this at our ribbon cutting, but the group of residents were standing around talking, and they said the best thing that used to happen, one of the biggest things in Unionville, was when they had to stop all the traffic on Route 55 so he could let his cows go across
Yeah, before the light.
before the light was there, and
Every
everybody had to
afternoon.
stop, and they'd watch him go back and forth
Yep,
every
bring him
morning.
over
And
for milking.
yeah, it's really, he's been here for a long time. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
The first order of business is to approve the minutes for August 19th and September 16th.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, aye. And its motion passes. Let me go into this town supervisor's report. I'm gonna go through a few things. One, I usually start with cash flow. We got we had a big month this month. We had at 107% of our goal and only 89% of our expenses, which is always good. But we were at so high because we got all the CHIPS money, we got our reimbursement. So that counted, which is always welcome. The town board members have been given all the financials for the month, which includes the cash flow, cash receipts, deposits, the building report, all the abstracts, so they know what bills have been paid, escrow reports, and the town monthly report showing where we are. We're in good shape. We've got some positive performances by most all of the departments. So things are going well there. Tonight, we have in the new business section a discussion about the budget process and taking the tentative budget that the town board has reviewed and just calling it, changing the name because we made one change to it, changing the name to the preliminary. So we'll get to that in a few minutes as far as budget. So I'm not going to go through all that now. There'll be a budget presentation next month. To update everybody on a few things. One, our assessor is leaving us. As some of you know, Robert Taft is moving over to work at Pauling. So we did get a letter from the town of LaGrange. We have been part of this CAP, Coordinated Assessment Agreement, since 2006 with LaGrange, and which also means that our assessments are intertwined. And that is going to stop now, and Unionville will be on our own, and there will be some future discussions about, how we, there's nothing that's going to change, but how we might operate the office and make everything work well for everybody. As far as correspondence, and I've got a few things. One, we got a letter from our workers' comp provider, Comp Alliance, announcing that the town of Unionville is qualified for the Comp Alliance Safe Workplace Award for its performance during policy year 2020. Somebody, I think we said this at the work session we were reviewing, somebody said, oh, well, nobody worked in 2020. Our people worked. They were all here. Town hall was open and our people worked. But the good news was we got a check for $2,177. So that kind of brings our, it brings our premiums down for that year. And it looks as if the lower premium, because of that refund, they're going to give us this year and next year as well. So that Safe Workplace Award actually worked in our favor. It's also important that the residents know that the comptroller's office, this is under the category of correspondence, comptroller's office has sent out to all towns their fiscal stress scores and designations. And the way that the fiscal stress scores work with the comptroller's office is that if you get to the point where you're a 48 or higher, your town, your municipality is designated as being in fiscal stress, and they make recommendations, and there are things the town board might want to do. And I think the good news is that in for Unionville, our fiscal stress is 0 and our environmental stress is 10.0, which means no designation. And we're the lowest ones on here along with the village of Millerton. So I think that's a really great thing for Unionville. There is a nice piece in the comptroller's website of the website. It's called Fiscal Stress Monitoring System, and it'll explain, why having some cash is important, a lot more than they used to recommend. It's an interesting read, and I refer it to you, and I will eventually. I can send that out on Unionville Mail. I just didn't think it would be the most exciting thing for everybody. Not as interesting as Girl Scout Silver Awards or anything like that. It's also important in the area of some checks. We got a $5,947.20 credit from a Chamung Supply Company for some plastic bell and solid pipe that was returned and we never received our credit from. So the good news is that we have $5,900 with them. That happened in 2016, 9/13/2016. So they just realized that they must have gone through an audit. They credited us. We bought something recently and we didn't have to pay for it. So that's good news. You should ask. We also got our first check from the St. Pauli Textile, the clothing shed at the recycling center. So that check was $222.77, which will go to the recycling center line as we try to save some revenue from recycling to make some improvements. The Unionville Fire District has paid us. It's just an interesting thing to note because they're very good. They're very good partners, and they paid us the $3,000 that they pay us annually to take care of the snow plowing at the firehouses at both of them. The DCGAA, Dutchess County Gaelic Athletic Festival, was on Saturday this weekend. And I wanted the residents to know, and the town board, we've discussed this before, but I think it's important everybody know that we're very choosy in all of these larger events, have to get town board approval. These guys have been trying to have this festival for 2 years, but because of COVID and other things, they weren't able to have it. But we rent out the use of the park. And so it is for just, we did it for the Balloon Festival, for the Gaelic Festival. We don't do it that often, but for very nice groups, we have done it, and it brings in a little revenue to recreation. And the last piece of correspondence that I think all of you should have gotten is to make sure you know that you have to, and I've been doing this, I thought it was already in effect, but the 10-digit phone dialing is in effect on October 24th. Have to dial 845 or 914 whenever you make a phone call. So just keep that in mind so you won't get that annoying message. Now I'd like to go to board member reports, and I can start with, to my right, Councilman Welsh. Did you have anything you wanted to report on?
I would like to report on the ribbon cutting. I know that's part of the agenda, but I would just like to say it was very informative, uplifting, and it was nice to see a project like that finalized or developed, I should say, because people didn't understand. They thought it was just an opportunity to get discount on your electric, but the real benefit is we're leasing that property that was idle for years, and we're getting rent money every month. And it's going to be a sizable amount of money over the term of the lease to offset tax revenue. So I think it's good for the town to be getting more money from non-tax sources.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. We've heard a few comments about how beautiful those panels look. It's not beautiful to everybody, but it does help the town of Unionville and all of our residents to get the discount.
I see they cleaned up too also. I remember at one of your meetings, people complained because it would look kind of yucky up there. Now it's
Looks much better, yeah. See, when you have a ribbon cutting on the calendar, everybody rushes in to clean it up. That's not a bad
Well,
thing.
it was under construction till recently anyway,
Yeah,
so
no, I'm
that's
just
part of
kidding.
the displeasure with the appearance.
Yes, and our guys went over and mowed the acre to the south. So now the whole area looks good.
Good.
Councilman Frazier, did you have a report?
Yeah, you're gonna need to take a look. Is it you? Okay. A couple days ago, Governor Hochul passed an executive order requiring that public meeting agendas be published or made available to the public 24 hours in advance of the meeting. we've had a local code here in effect since 2016 that requires that to be done a week in advance. Just think it's notable that the state now has come down and put legislation in effect that does make this stuff more available.
Did you want to report on anything you personally did?
That's my report.
Oh, okay. Thank you for updating us on the governor. Anybody else? Councilman Derlin, Councilman McGivney, either one of you can feel free.
As we spoke about earlier this evening, I'd like to acknowledge and keep those in our thoughts of the few instrumental people that passed recently in our community, Butch Anderson and Ray Vale and the firefighter up in Pine Plains. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Town Highway Superintendent report.
Okay, first thing is our barn repair. The board is aware of what's going on with that. To update you on what we've done in-house to date, the heating system has been removed. I had Crown Gas, who was our heating provider, took it down. I got 3 proposals. Actually, I reached out to 3 electricians for proposals on removal of electricity. The lighting and fixtures. I got 2 proposals back. I went with the least expensive, and he was actually almost 15,000 less than the next bid, which was amazing to me. Wow. Regardless, so the electric is down. I had Dutchess overhead doors come out. They disassembled all the stuff in the ceiling that was pertained to the doors. We also took 1 door completely out, so we have access into the building. That open bay has been tarped off to keep intruders from coming in. And then I had our crew go in, and they took the insulation, the ceiling, and the vapor barrier down. That was done in-house. So if you look at one of the proposals for that work to be completed, the second proposal from that contractor is a little bit less, and then the reason for that is because we did these things in-house. So I don't know where we're at with the barn, other than I believe the materials have been ordered. They're still probably 4 to 6 weeks out, which puts us almost the 1st of December at best, just to have materials. So we need to move pretty quick on picking a contractor. We have 3 bids out, I believe. So hopefully we can award a contractor tonight as soon as possible.
That's the plan.
Yeah, it's on the agenda tonight.
Okay, so that's pretty much where we got with the barn. Other things noted that we should note, we have 1 truck that is in the shop getting repaired. It could turn into an expensive project. We're waiting to hear from the mechanic shop to see where we're at with that truck. Could be as much as $8,000 to $10,000. So once I get a proposal, I'll hand it to the board for approval. Our boom mower, the one that reaches out over the guardrails and such, that mower went down about 2 weeks ago. Like with a lot of other things, we're waiting on parts. So as soon as parts come in, we'll get the mower back out and its thing. We had a large tree go down over the bank. I don't know how many are familiar with Mack Road. When the tree went down, it took out about 12 feet of the north lane on Mack Road. That happened about a week ago. That was totally restored, and the road is back full open now. We are started our fall cleanup. You live on one of the gravel roads or travel one of the gravel roads in town, hope you noticed we York raked and we've been blowing the ditches out. As part of our new fall maintenance plan, we will be going through on the dirt and some of the paved roads at least once a week to every 10 days with a blower blowing the ditch lines out, trying to keep pipes open for any snow melt that we get in the spring. So we're on top of that. And hopefully, contractor that chose to clean out the catch basins and pipe on Cunningham, I believe it is, will show up next week to do that work. So, yeah, there's a lot on it.
lot going on.
Thanks for doing all that, Ed.
Yeah, but also I want to make sure not all the residents understand that the first part of the superintendent's presentation had to do with the highway equipment garage because 4 of the trusses broke and the roof is on the verge of collapsing. And so all of what you were describing kind of was explaining that. And I don't think everybody knew that we had that emergency situation. So just to clear that up, thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Town Clerk's report.
Hello, everyone. So the day that everyone has been waiting for is finally here. Document shredding day is scheduled on November the 24th. I do actually get a lot of calls about this. And the way it works is a shredding truck comes to the town hall and shreds documents on site. It's a very quick process and very secure, and we use it to clean out the archives in items that are able to be purged. So in doing that, we open it up to resident use as well. You can bring up to 4 boxes. And like I said, it's scheduled for Wednesday, November 24th, which is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. If you can't make it that day, you're more than welcome to bring the stuff ahead of time. We'll safely store it for you and get it destroyed properly. The time is not yet to be decided. They usually let me know that Monday, sometimes Tuesday, in which case I will post it on the town website, but feel free to check in by phone or email in the meantime. And that's all I have.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much.
Try it again.
Can you unmute if you did want to speak? Otherwise, just wave off and I'll move on. No? Okay. Well, I'll assume that Lalita Malik is going to speak later in the meeting.
Excuse me,
Make
I
sense?
didn't know
Okay.
who you were talking to.
All
I
right.
couldn't hear.
She is speaking now. I hear her. If you want to turn your speaker
Who's?
on. Jean is
Jean Moore.
speaking. Yeah. If you want to put your speaker.
I think she was going to be talking about town issues. Mrs.
I don't
Moore?
know. I want to talk about the library issue later when you have it.
Okay, so at the end, when we call for comments on town issues, you're going to go then. So you're going to
Great.
read,
Great.
you're going to read your comments. You don't need anybody to read them. Is that correct?
Yes, as long as my internet's working, I'll be happy to read it.
Okay, thank you.
So were you asking me to speak, Betsy? Because I guess I didn't hear you. Because I
Well,
want,
the town clerk wasn't sure if you wanted to speak now or at the end when there are comments on town issues.
well,
What's
one
your
of the things, I thought it was going to be on today's agenda was the discussion about the dam. But I didn't see the presentation on it, so I may have got my days mixed up on that one.
No, we didn't have that we haven't had a presentation on that in a while because of the high water. They're waiting to do a test. So
Okay.
I can fill you in later if you'd like more information. I've got a lot of information I can share with you. But
Yeah,
that
I'd
is,
love to have, I'd
Okay.
love to have, and then comment on it because I've been following that issue for quite a while. So I'd like
That's
to
right.
have my input on that.
wonderful. Okay, so we'll talk and and you can come to the office and I can give you copies of things if you're interested.
Okay. Will do.
Okay. All right. At this point, we will go to, there's no council reports tonight. For example, our head of the CAC is on the West Coast. She'll be back and we'll get an update on that NRI work at that point. So now we'll go to departmental reports for parks and then recreation. Got them all set? Do you want to read the parks report?
Sure, I'll be glad to read the Parks report for 10/20/21. Oktoberfest has come and gone. We had a great event this year. I want to thank everyone who came and participated in our first barrel races. People really seem to enjoy it all, and we are excited to keep that going next year. I also want to thank all of the staff and volunteers who came out and made the event possible. Dutchess County GAA had their Irish Fest this past weekend, and I would like to congratulate them on a great event. We have a Halloween movie night next Friday, October 29th, starting at 6:15 with The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, followed by the 2019 Addams Family. Come and enjoy food from Finelli's food truck and enjoy the park. Finelli's food truck. We are also starting to gear up for our Festival of Lights, which will be on December 4th. More info to come. As I said in for this whole season, it continues to rain and the grass continues to grow. This is from our park manager, Jake.
Jake Gosnell.
Jake Gosnell.
Which is funny, I just want to make a correction. I think we changed that Festival of Lights to Grand Illumination, which he just slipped and forgot.
Okay, well, I don't know if it changed.
Everybody preferred that because now everybody's calling it Festival of Lights, so we wanted to be different. That was a few years ago. Would one of the councilmen like to read the recreation report from Allison Croak, our recreation director?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
We started off October. Someday. We started off October with our Music in the Park event. We had a great turnout of about 75 people who came to enjoy music from Noise in the Basement. Now that the school year is in full swing, our after-school program is seeing some new faces. We've been busy planning for our upcoming Halloween events, a Halloween party at our after-school program, followed by a family movie night on October 29th. We are also thinking ahead to the holiday season and planning our grand illumination event. We're looking forward to these upcoming events and hoping to reach out to a lot of families.
Thank you very much. That department's doing well.
Good.
And there've been some fun events there this year, which is great. Next up under old business is our Unionvale Solar Development on Route 55. Councilman Welsh has already covered the ribbon cutting, so I think we can pass that. That was a nice event. There's a reporter from Channel 12 who's coming tomorrow to take pictures of the solar development.
Oh, good.
It might end up being a 90-second segment, one day, but she is coming, which will be nice. And actually, she's going to be speaking with two of our residents who actually signed up for the discount, Bob Ritter and Dennis Dunning. And just to get some, residents' input on what the development will do and all that.
Yes, a lot of nice clean energy now available.
Yeah, you mentioned it the other day that engineer had mentioned that at the moment that we were staying there, that thing was powering 1,000 houses.
Yeah.
Right at that moment because of the weather and everything, which is really nice. Okay, so that's it for old business. Under new business, we have tonight our job is to take the tentative budget and call it the preliminary budget because we're moving into the next phase. I wanted to make sure everybody knew that we have tweaked the budget. We may tweak it again based on, we have one more public hearing. That's on November 4th. But during that, it'll probably be right before that. I think we'll have the public hearing. And as soon as we finish hearing people's comments on the budget at 7 p.m. on November 4th, if you could mark that down if you want to attend, then there'll be a presentation of the preliminary budget. So we'll go through a few slides and we'll answer more questions. After people comment, then we can start the meeting and we can go through the tentative budget and then get more questions and answer questions about it. Okay, so that'll come up on November 4th. That's really it for new business. What happens with the budget process, that'll be our fourth hearing for comments. Then we move into talking about it, presenting it to all of you. And then on November 18th, which is our next formal regular agenda meeting, we will vote formally on the adopted budget, which will be submitted for 2022. Okay? So that's the remainder of the budget process schedule. Next up, we have our resolutions and motions for the evening. And I'm fairly certain that we are all quite ready to, and we can certainly discuss further, but I'd say we're quite ready to review and then discuss and vote on resolution on local law number 3, rather, which has to do with opting out of cannabis. So I'm wondering, Councilman Welsh, you have yours at the
Yeah.
ready. Do you mind
Yes, I don't
reading
mind.
local law number 3? Thank you.
Okay. Prevailing time, and whereas notice of said public hearing was given pursuant to the terms and provisions of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York. And whereas said local law has been on the desks of the members of the town board, the town of Unionville for at least 7 days, exclusive of Sunday. And now therefore be it resolved that the following local law is hereby enacted. Town of Unionville, local law number 3, 2021, entitled "A Local Law to Opt Out of Allowing Cannabis Retail Dispensaries and On-Site Consumption Sites as authorized under New York State Cannabis Law, Article 4. You want me to go through the legislative intent, or?
I think if you would mind reading
I
the
don't
whole
mind.
thing, because then we'll,
Okay, section 1, legislative intent. It is the intent of this local law to opt out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries and on-site cannabis consumption sites in the town of Unionville that would otherwise be allowed under cannabis law, Article 4. Section 2, authority. This local law is adopted pursuant to cannabis local law, Section 131, which expressly authorizes the town board to adopt a local law requesting that the Cannabis Control Board to prohibit the establishment of cannabis retail dispensary licenses and/or on-site consumption licenses within the jurisdiction of the town and is subject to permissive referendum, procedure for which is governed by Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 24. Section 3, local opt-out. The town board of the town of Unionville hereby opts out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries and on-site cannabis consumption sites from being established and operated within the town's jurisdiction. Section 4, servability. If any clause, sentence, paragraph, subdivision, or part of this local law or the application thereof to any person, individual, firm, or corporation or circumstance shall be held by any court of competent jurisdiction to be invalid or unconstitutional, such order or judgment shall not affect, impair, or invalidate the remainder thereof, but shall be confirmed in its operation to the clause, sentence, paragraph, subdivision, or part of this local law, or in its application to the person, individual, firm, or corporation, or circumstances directly involved in the controversy in which such order or judgment shall be rendered. Section 5, permissive referendum on petition. This local law is subject to permissive referendum on petition in accordance with the cannabis law, Section 131, and the procedure outlined in Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 24. Effective date. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the New York State Secretary of State.
is there any discussion needed? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Frazier,
Aye.
Councilman Derling,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney, Councilman Welch,
Aye.
and Supervisor Moss.
Aye. All right, the ayes have it. That's a unanimous vote. We are opting out of cannabis retail sales. Thank you for your comments at the public hearing tonight, and for responding to that survey. All the input, the board wanted input, and we appreciated you helping out and writing in.
Steve Frazier seconded
Okay.
previously.
You're talking about the cannabis?
Yeah.
Yes. No, well, he didn't second it tonight. He can't, the resolution of adoption.
Was prior to tonight.
Okay, so in order to cover those bases, that was the resolution of introduction. For the resolution of adoption, it was offered by Councilman John Welsh, and it is being seconded by Councilman Derland. And that resolution passed. Thank you. That local law number 3 is subjective to permissive referendum, so you'll hold on to it and then we'll submit it. That's great. Okay, resolution 31-21, authorizing appointment of acting assessor. I'll go ahead and read this because I'm more familiar with it. Town of Unionville Town Board Resolution number 32 of 2021 regarding the authorizing the appointment of acting assessor. Whereas due to the resignation of the assessor effective October 22nd, 2021, there is a vacancy in the position of assessor. And whereas there was an immediate need for a qualified individual to fill that vacancy, and whereas real property tax law section 314 authorizes the appointment of an acting assessor to serve at the pleasure of the town board for a period of up to 6 months. And whereas the town board is now desirous of appointing former county director Eric Axelson as acting assessor until the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance in Albany approves his credentials, and town board members have the opportunity to review such credentials. And whereas the town board can fully appoint Mr. Axelson to the assessor position during the organizational meeting to fulfill the remainder of Robert Taft's term, which expires September 30th, 2025. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board does hereby approve the appointment of Mr. Eric Axelson as acting assessor, and be it also resolved that the town board establishes the salary, the prorated salary as established by the 2021 adopted town budget, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to notify the Dutchess County Director of Real Property Tax Services and the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance of this appointment, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Is there any discussion? Hope everybody got his resume is in your office, and everybody probably knows him
Yeah.
since he worked for the county for many years. And as an acting assessor, while we're getting used to him and talking about how we're going to redo the office and all that, people will have a time to spend with him and talk to him. And then we can make the full appointment at the organizational meeting. May I have a roll call? Oh, sorry, was there a second?
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
Councilman Durley was the second. And offering the resolution, and we now need a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Frazier,
Aye.
Councilman Derland, Councilman McGivney, Councilman Welsh, Supervisor Mons.
Aye, thank you very much. That motion for resolution 31-2021 passes. Next up, we have resolution 33, authorizing acceptance of Rabco Construction Corp. Proposal for highway equipment garage. Now, before I go to that resolution, I want to make sure everybody got this in their package.
Yes. I got it.
Yeah, so we had looked at 3 quotes before, and we had looked at, and Mr. Al, what is his last name? Rabesco?
Rabco.
Rabasco, Mr. Rabasco, he did submit a new cover letter saying that he was aware that this was a prevailing wage project, and he did tell us on the phone that that was included in all of his numbers. That question had come up, but has since been answered, and he was the low bid. And as such, since he was the low bid, I think we're at the point where we need to select that person.
The only comment I have is he was also the representative for the pole barn building.
Lester,
He
right?
knows-
Right.
yeah, Lester. So he knows
So he's
that.
familiar with the whole,
Right, how to do it
that's probably why he's a low bidder, because he knows what to
He
do.
knows how
He's not
do
going to
it.
waste time.
more efficiently, right?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, and the other thing that's important is that when he first submitted it, he gave us 10 days to accept it because he's got 2 other jobs waiting, and he wants to know if we're going to do it, and we've got 2 days left on the 10 days, so.
Oh, good.
The
So we're just
timing
getting
might,
in under the wire.
I think the timing is perfect. Would any councilman like to offer resolution 33 of 2021? Okay, Councilman Frazier, thank you.
Whereas the town of Unionville Highway Equipment Garage roof is in danger of collapsing due to deterioration of 4 building trusses which have broken, and whereas the town highway superintendent has been forced to move much of the town's most expensive equipment outdoors to avoid suffering any damage from a collapsing roof, and whereas all town board members have visited the garage and witnessed the damage and are aware of the race against the onset of snow season, and whereas the highway superintendent has secured 3 construction quotes, one of which is lowest bid from Rabasco, right? Okay, Radco Construction Corporation. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board in its determination to proceed quickly authorizes retention of Radco Construction Corporation to replace the damage to the garage, and ratifies the supervisor's determination that this is an emergency situation and speed is of the essence.
Sorry, is there a second?
Second.
Sorry, I had my volume off. Okay, any further discussion? Any comments? All right, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Frazier,
Aye.
Councilman Derland,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney,
Aye.
Councilman Welch,
Aye.
and Supervisor Moss.
Aye. Okay, resolution 33 passes. We
And can I
will,
just ask you a question on this?
Yes, please do.
Is there any place you think at the park that we could store some of this temporarily till the building is fixed, or privately, is anybody you know that might have space that would be agreeable?
What we did yesterday, I secured a 20-foot storage container.
Mhm.
You know, one of those.
Yeah, Reynolds, yeah.
Well, we purchased.
Oh, you did? Oh, good.
The purchase price and the rental price, because we don't know the duration.
Sure, yeah.
And we kind of could use the extra space
Oh,
and
yeah.
secure space. So I bought it used from a guy in Danbury. I picked it up with one of my trucks yesterday.
Oh,
We
thanks.
set it today.
Mm-hmm.
The crew took all the valuable stuff out of the building today.
Wow.
It's secured in that seat.
Oh, excellent.
So the only thing that's really outside are the trucks.
Okay.
So,
All right.
you know,
That's
with
great.
winter coming, that's kind of a concern. We
Yeah.
get that building back in shape.
great. Well, you can notify Al Rabasco tomorrow that
I would do that.
he has the job and then he'll get going. That's
All we need
wonderful.
is
Thank you.
materials now.
Right, well,
He's been
he's,
instrumental in getting the materials coming. As the rep
I
from-
hope they're not coming from China.
I think they're out west. Good thing. Okay, at this point, our next action is to officially take the tentative budget and call it the preliminary budget. May I have a motion supporting that?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor of the tentative budget becoming the preliminary budget? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any nays? Nope. Okay, motion passes. The preliminary budget will be presented to the residents on November 4th after a public hearing, taking additional comments. We can still tweak it that night if people, things come up, okay? Okay, now we have public comments on town issues, and I believe.
What
Mrs.
about budget adjustments and transfers and pay bills?
Oh, I got it out of order. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we should pay the bills first. I
I'll
have a
make
motion.
to pay the bills.
I'll second the motion. Pay the bills.
Aye.
Terrific. We will get that done. Public comments on town issues, please. Mrs. Moore, would you like to unmute? And there you are. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to read this letter that I wrote to you. We've been told that the Unionville Town Board plans to ask for private donations to obtain the approximately $1.5 to $2 million needed to renovate the barn at Timar Park for use as a library. There are serious problems associated with this plan. It would take many years not only to collect the amount of money needed, but then to build a library. During this time, Unionville residents will still have limited access to library services. The town supervisor has floated the idea of having the town consider municipal bonds. Donations are collected. What happens if an insufficient amount of money is collected? Who is liable for the repayment of the bond? It would be the residents of Unionville. If Unionville were to build a library, the annual operating cost would likely be $179,000 a year, which is the average operating cost of a library in New York State. That's a lot more than the $77,935 for Proposition 7 on this year's ballot. In order to cut down on those costs, the town supervisor has suggested that current town employees could help staff a library. This makes no sense because a library has to be staffed with a certified librarian and qualified staff members. Also, do our current town employees really have time to staff a library? A social media comment said that it is an objective fact that donations will be collected to pay for the library. This would only be an objective fact if all the money needed had already been collected. Here are some objective facts. There seems to be some secrecy regarding the plans for library service. The secrecy began with the Library Steering Committee in the written instructions of the role of a committee member, which stated, quote, "Committee members agree by serving on this committee to keep all research results, committee analysis, conclusions, and conversations confidential. Committee research and thought processes are for the benefit of the town board only," unquote. We are supposed to be living in a democracy where decisions are made in accordance with the input of the citizens who elected their representatives. It seems that our input is being ignored by our elected representatives. In her report to the town board on April 6, 2017, our town supervisor neglected to reveal the fact that of the 187 people who responded to the library survey, only one person said the town of Unionville should build its own library. Is our town going to build a library because of that one reply? The town supervisor seems to believe that Unionville should pay only for people who use the library. Imagine applying this idea to other town services. Only people who use Timor Park would be taxed for it. Only people who drive would pay for roads. Only those with children would be taxed for education, etc. This is not what creates a community. A community is created by supporting the needs of its residents, not divvying out services piecemeal. It is a fact that paying $77,935 a year costs much less than renovating and building a library. Would it be possible to have this funding totally by donations? While anything is possible, the fact is that it's highly unlikely. Thank you very much for giving me the time to read this and let you know my thoughts.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Is there another comment? Okay, well, I will, I would like to say a couple of things about this library situation because there are so many misstatements and misinformation, pieces of misinformation being disseminated. First of all, the town board isn't trying to raise money for a library. The mention of a bond was in reference to the fact that because we've worked hard to save money because we have a dam problem that's going to cost us over $1 million, and we've got $1.5 million of infrastructure projects on our infrastructure list. We actually have enough money to pay for a library if the town board wanted to move in that direction. So that was a statement of the fact that we're in a good position and very far away from being under fiscal stress as some of the unfortunate towns are. Now, I think that I guess I am tired personally of arguing about the library services. And I felt that earlier this year when those private residents paid a lot of money to have an architect come after they picked through several and they hired one, when they spent their own money to have an architect come and present after making those inspirational drawings. And you could see the people reacting in a positive way. The town board reacted in a positive way. The town board said, wow, this is actually very, what he had said, this is an exciting project. Those projects take a long time. They involve a lot of community interaction and support. So that process has not begun yet because I think the group was waiting for a 501c3, and I know for a fact that came in last week. So the group is about ready to begin, but they weren't ready to begin when the architect first made those, shared those beautiful drawings. And the town board said, you know what, we have to spend $350,000 on a roof over there. If this all comes to fruition fairly quickly, or before we absolutely have to have that roof, we're willing to commit that money because we're going to be spending it over there anyway. Those were all really good comments. And I just was extremely disappointed that when you have a town moving in a good direction where residents are willing to go to all that work and time and trouble, and you have a town board that was very interested in hearing what those residents had to say, not that there was a vote, we were moving in this really terrific new direction and waiting and getting, we'd have to set up all those community meetings so we could hear input. But after all that positivity, then you have a group of people, a group that are very vocal. And they wanted to put a referendum on the ballot. And I think they were lucky they got the referendum on the ballot because, due to COVID, the percentages, the numbers were lower than normal. And it's very important that I just am disappointed that the library system and that even Albany would allow somebody to get in the middle of such a positive scenario before we had even had a chance to listen to community comments. So I am disappointed. I am, personally exhausted with arguing about the library. I think it's I think it's important that people understand that those of us that take our responsibilities about finances very important, don't believe that with this referendum I don't believe that you should ever send money out of your own town, because it is a carte blanche. It's not tied to anything. It's an arbitrary sum. It's also something that you can't stop without a great deal of effort. So we would, of course, always believe that that's not the right way to go. So my point is that referendum numbers, or proposition number 7 on the what is it? The ballot.
Yeah.
Turn it over, look it on the
flip side of the
bottom.
ballot.
The flip side is proposition number 7. For me, it's absolutely a no, because I believe that our tax dollars should stay in Unionville. I'm glad the residents are going to get an opportunity to vote on it. And I want to put the hostility to bed, the aggressive comments on social media. It's not Unionville. It's not the way our town operates. I think we should just turn it over, vote. I hope you vote no, because I think we have a responsibility to take care of our own money, and there are other ways of getting to the same solution. That I feel that way. And again, I'm just sorry that we're here. With such wonderful residents willing to go to such hard work. I'm sorry that somebody made the judgment to allow us to go here and be so negative.
Is a
But that's
town
really it. I
contractor
think
going
that-
to be building the library?
I think that's it, Jean. You had your 3 minutes. I think there's a lot of questions about the library. I'm glad you're laughing. The library discussion will happen in 2022. It will. The community meetings and all those things will happen in January. They'll talk about them in December. Right now, your only point is proposition 7. It's a yes or a no. Do you want to take the money and send it out of your town indefinitely? Or do you want to keep it here and then come up with another arrangement that works for all residents? That's really it. It has nothing to do with that library. That library discussion is coming, and we'll get to hear what everybody says, which I think is going to be an exciting time. Up or down votes are fine. And the same thing will happen with the library, but give it a chance to happen is all I say. All right. I don't have any other comments.
I do.
Did you want to say something? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's important that the public, the residents of Unionville, be aware of this whole situation, because this is added tax. If the yes vote is a majority of the voters, not the town, but of the voters, then all residents will have to pay extra tax in 2022 and further and years subsequent to that. The amount could change and they'd have to pay it. The money will go directly to outside agency or libraries, not Unionville. It will not stay in the town of Unionville. There are people on fixed income, people with tight budgets, people working 2 jobs trying to keep their home and keep their family fed, and added tax is not a good thing. The town board has been working to keep our tax flat for 2022. The intent of the budget for next year is to do such a thing. So having an added tax to pay outside libraries is not a good idea. And that money really should stay in town. And I hope all residents of town become aware of this and say no to this extra tax that they should not be paying.
Oh, thank you.
Can I have my
And I would
say?
like to, I would just like to say that the financials are really, really important. And what Councilman Welsh is talking about, during COVID, the reason the town did really well when we had that pandemic was because we were in control. And what we got to do is stop all the expenses. We cut things off. We will not be allowed to do that if you're obligating the town to send $78,000 out. But when you can control all the finances, and another area, I'm thinking of the fire department. We're not obligated, no town is obligated to provide library services. It's a nice thing to have, especially if it becomes a wonderful community center. And we're also not required to provide EMS services, but it's a really good thing to have, don't you think? And I noticed that a lot of the towns around us are complaining. We have a very robust volunteer fire service, but at some point, since all the other towns are complaining, what happens if those expenses go up and we're locked in over here? It's really much more, it's easier for the town board to manage, to pull from here and put over there when something spikes up. And if we're guaranteed and all this money's going out, it doesn't work as well. We have proven our ability to manage money. This will be our 5th year of flat taxes, or certainly 4th. And I think that that takes work. And we're willing to put in the work and we get it done for you. But to have a big chunk disappear, I don't think is good financial management, but I look at things more from the financial side, as you guys know. But I think Lolita had something to say. Mrs.
Yes,
Malik, did you want to say? Go right ahead.
Yes, I do. And it relates to the same subject, the library. I mean, our town is doing a whole bunch of positive stuff, and I'm really proud of all the accomplishments that you've done regarding getting the NRI, the solar panels, and all the other fiscal responsibilities in place. But I do sort of disagree with you on one little thing, and I want to just make aware of that. I think that having access to full library services until you decide what's going to happen with the library or it comes into fruition is important. There are many people, you already mentioned, John, that there are people who are on a tight budget and cannot afford much money. Those people also need access to services in terms of loans of laptops, internet access, hotspot access, all of that the access to the library services provide. Now, for the cost of about $38 to $50 per household per year, we can get access to that. And that gives you sufficient time in the meantime to consider whatever alternates you have. But cutting down this access to some people who really want it now is not necessary. I mean, we can have the proposition is out on the ballot and people can vote their thing on it, but I want to make everybody aware of the fact that it is not a chunk of money that's just gonna go out of the town. It is for services that people want. And if they want it, vote yes. But it's not a question of money going out of the town or not. It's a question of, can we have access to what we've been having all along until you come up with whatever solution you're coming up with. And the cost of, we're talking about the 77,000, that's 100,000 per year. I mean, we have 4.1 million in our budget. I understand it's earmarked for a lot of very important stuff. It's an earmark for very important stuff, but at the same time, I think access to library is also very important.
I think you're absolutely right, but do you mind if I just correct one thing? And first of all, that $38 is a guess based on an average home cost, so that varies. I'm not saying that that's expensive, but hear me out. We have 2 computers in the back of town hall that are hooked to the internet, and they're sitting on nice tables and stands waiting for anybody to come in and use them. We have 2 computers down in the recreation in the office off of the senior center so that anybody can go in and use that office, those 2 computers that are internet connected. We have services that we can offer. I also think that if you're in, and I know you are a very genuine person, not the attorneys that wrote that wording in that referendum did not write it to say, if and when you get that library built, these costs or these dollar amounts will cease. It says annually. It says it will be paid annually. So while some of you might feel that it will be until, it is not going to be until something else happens. It will have to require a petition, and it will require, which would be much harder to get because it will be the full 10%, not the lower number that they were able to secure this time to get it on the referendum. I'm saying that there may be, people may want to do that, But if your intentions were the intentions of, let's say, the Beekman Library and the Millbrook Library and the LaGrange Library, the referendum would have different wording. And it doesn't say that. So
Well,
I just, so there's different ways of looking at it. And there's always two sides. I recognize that, but that's not what the referendum says.
Well, the referendum is definitely there that if we can have another vote on it, and that will stop it, because that proposition, it's the way the libraries are funded. And if you agree on doing what we're doing, we can have a vote to stop that funding anytime. Whenever we are ready, we can do that. And the amount will not go up. It will not go up in the subsequent time frame.
I agree with that. That's consistent with the wording as well. It's a big thing to think about. And I'm just sorry we're having this divisiveness right now, but I appreciate your comments. And we'll see what happens. And that's really all we have to cover tonight, but thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Malik and everybody else. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning? We will. All right, we're going to adjourn now. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.